You seeing this thing? Hey, sup guys? So if you made it this far to the video, please like, comment, or subscribe. I leave that up to you guys. But what you just saw back there was the talents and the active and passive talents that you're able to find within the Necromancer class tree. That's all found on the left side. As of right now, those are subject to change. I don't know how much it would differ or if things will be kept in or whatnot. With the current nature of Conquest of Azeroth, I don't really have an idea. So there are some changes that I'll go ahead and make mention here. But again, I just want to go ahead and say thank you again for you guys watching the video thus far. And also, I'll be going over some general abilities that are available for all level 60 Necromancers. Necromancers across the board know these abilities, so I'll just be highlighting some of those shortly. You'll be seeing that's coming up next, as well as some active talents that you find from the general class talent tree. So, yeah, I'm going to go over some basic mechanics and things to know about with the Necromancer. So one thing you know, as you probably have seen in the level 1 through 10 video, there is, a resource called Life Force, which basically, is kind of like your tank to go ahead and raise more minions. So in this case, we do have our Abomination spell. We also have our Skeletal Archer and Skeletal Warrior spell, right? So all of that brings in a different minion, but you're only given a certain amount of life force. Animation, Necromancer by odds, they have more life force than most Necromancers, but in this case, in general, Death and Rhyme Necromancers, they only have access to basically 3 points of life force, if that makes sense. So I know it's measured different between percentages and 1 or 2 life force. It really depends. So your Abomination, just in general, that's one of the recent changes there. Abomination is fully available to all Necromancers now. I don't know how it was beforehand. I did not recall seeing Abomination being available, but in this case it is. So with each of these raise spells, you also have a command spell, and basically there will be different effects. So your raise spells, like for the Abomination, you kind of got the hook. It's kind of like a death grip, if you will, where you yank the enemy to your Abomination's location, and you're basically able to bring them into your skeletal army, right? So and then you have stuff like skeletal the skeletal archer command, where there's like basically an empowered arrow being tossed at the enemy. And you also have things like the Skeletal Warrior command, where basically it's a charge. And you can use that in mid-combat, which is pretty cool. One thing to note, though, is just that with the Command Abomination, at least at the time of recording, the hook that was being tossed toward the enemy was not yanking the enemy toward the Abomination. My Abomination was literally still charging or running to the enemy. So with that thing, it is what it is. I'm not sure at this point if it's fixed now. It probably is fixed, but it's just something I thought I'd mention. And we'll go over a few other mechanics. So one thing also to note is that Necromancers kind of have like stances. So they're labeled as either Undead Assault, Undead Pacify, or Undead Protect. Something that I'm noticing right now, though, is with Undead Assault, it's labeled as Undead Minions movement speed increased by 50%. So I'm not sure if that was a typo or if that was intended. I thought it was, basically a damage increase. So I'm going to have to check and follow up on that. But basically this is a more aggressive type style of functionality, I guess you would say, for your Necromancer minions. And then for Undead Pacify, this is something I would default to as I'm going about different dungeons or different places. So I just don't pull anything by accident. I don't want to be the guy responsible of pulling something that I shouldn't have with my group of minions, my little skeletal army, right? If you're gonna hop over cliffs or stuff, I would recommend, and I'll demonstrate right here, if you're gonna hop over like ledges and stuff, I would recommend that you sacrifice undead, which I'll show that later. But this is what's gonna happen, right? If I hop over, you're gonna lose sight of your Abomination. Like right now, he's climbing down. Right now the transmog is not working, by the way, guys, just thought I mentioned. But yeah, that's what my character looks like for now. But my Abomination is basically out of sight, I think. I'm not sure if he's going to show up, but he's still there. You see what's going on right now? So could you imagine right now if this was in a dungeon? Right? Here he goes. He returned to Papa, right? He's here. But the thing that stings about this is you would have pulled all of, if these guys were mobs, you would have pulled basically the entire dungeon, and that's something you don't want to do. So yeah, just to avoid any kind of like wonky pathing or kind of like phasing drama or whatever, I would encourage that you just use Sacrifice Undead, just to kind of clear out your minions, and then just go to your, go to where you need to go. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have that guy go all across like you just saw earlier, and you're just going to draw unwanted attention to yourself. So I don't suggest that you do that. So just thought I mentioned that. Alright guys, so as you can see, I'm going to one location to another, right? This is something I noticed that goes on with Necromancers, which I actually kind of hate. Just my opinion. Did you see that? Alright, did you just saw what happened? Guys, I just teleported from one location to another. That's not the fear factor here, okay? Listen, if you're playing late night or whatever, you got your volume, you lost sight of how loud your volume is. That sound right there, the resummoning of your minions just popping out of nowhere like that, you're just going out and about. Dude, it just so annoying. Oh my goodness, and it's a piss off because every time you have no idea what's gonna happen. Also, another thing too is that when you summon your minions, you are able to see their HP. I don't think it applies to everybody, but like if I was going to go ahead and put my skeletal archer and my abomination, you can see that they have HP bars, and I could see what's going on with them. If not, I could just click them. But the point what I wanted to make is just that this could be helpful, whatever situation that you're in, where you could see their health and what's going on. If they're pulling mobs, you have abilities like Bone Scrap, which I'll get into detail later, which basically consumes part of their health, and you want to see how much HP they have before you have a tough situation. You need your minions to really fight back. Half your abilities, your command spells, kind of rely on it. So I thought I'd make mention of that. It's good to see the HP of your minions. And two things. So you got the Bone Scrap ability, which is a talent choice. Unfortunately, when you use it, there's nothing that happens if you don't have any minions out. So obviously, it's easy to say, but make sure you have your minions out before you use Bone Scrap because it absorbs their HP and converts it into a shield for you to use. So for me, at the time, I didn't have any minions out. I was using the ability with no benefit. It would just go on cooldown. So just something I thought I'd mention. I'm not sure if that will be reworked or if there'll be an error message that states that you have to have your minion summoned before you use it. But I thought I mentioned that. And the other thing I thought I mentioned is about Decaying Colossus. What happens is when you summon it, it doesn't show any HP bar when you toggle the HP bars on and off in the key binding setting. So yeah, for anyone who's on COA or part of COA, if you guys happen to catch this, just so I make mention of that. So yeah, I'll go ahead and put an image, but that could be toggled through your in-game settings under the interface panel. I'm sorry, under your key bindings panel, in which you'll be able to find where you could toggle the HP for, basically whatever mobs you have, or in this case, your minions. So, in another change that's happened in the recent rework and stuff is your primary spell, which used to be what was called as putrefy. Putrefy. I'm still having difficult saying that. Now you're saying it directly, but with putrefy, I think I'm getting it now. It is no longer your primary, you would say, runic power builder. That is no longer the case. So it's under the rhyme tree, but every necromancer has it. It's Lich Frost. So Lich Frost is the replacement of Putrefy, at least as it stands right now. This could be subject to change, I don't know. But this will build up your runic power. So I just thought I'd make mention of that because when I made the level 1 through 10 video, it was Putrefy. And as you guys could tell or hear, even in that video, I was struggling to say it. So I know for a fact it was a different spell. So a recent change added this in. I'm just letting you guys know. I'm not going to be on top of every upgrade. It is what it is. There's so much rapid upgrades or updates. I'm sorry, with this server that I won't be able to track every single thing every single minute. It is what it is, guys. But just thought I'd mention it to you guys. So other things to mention. So yeah, you get some passives along the way. So Necromancer, you do get your passive of Scourge Apprentice training, which basically increases your life force by 1, and then Scourge Expert training, which again increases your life force maximum by an additional 1. So my opinion, I think that would be best. I'm going to go ahead and unlock this right here. I'm going to boost this to 150, right? So let me just put it right here. My opinion would be maybe turn this more into a fraction style. I'm not sure if there's any other settings that, yeah, none of that. No other options, really, other than the percentage. The percentage is fine, but again, it's up to you guys how finicky you are with it. So yeah, just in my opinion, I think this should be changed to a fraction display, but that's just me. It doesn't have to be. You know, percentage is fine, but for those, you know, who would prefer, that would be a cool option. But because it gets a little bit confusing with percentage of life force and 1 or 2 life force. So when we mouse over Raise Abomination, this does in fact occupy 2 life force. We know that, and in this description here with Scourge Expert Training, and same thing with Apprentice Training, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, singular numbers, I think would work best to just clarify. But again, percentage, it's not a big deal. I just thought I'd make mention of it. Other than that, I'm gonna confirm something. Hang on. Yeah, so I am seeing it right in front of me. Literally, it is Undead Assault, and it used to be described as Undead minions deal 5% increased damage and increases their movement speed by 40%. So we know for a fact that this is not a trip-off. What I got right here displayed to me is that it just increases their movement speed. They are a lot faster, so I guess that's the assault part about it, but the 5% damage buff is no longer there. I guess that's implied through talents. Your minions are improved in different ways, probably through talents. I think that's probably the direction. I don't know. I'm just assuming, or I'm just, tossing that out there. I don't know for a fact though. But yeah. So my opinion with Necromancers, I made this little thing on the side, which I'll get into much more details about it, but it's kind of like an idea of where they stand in story, lore. You got the Alliance and Horde in World of Warcraft. So where your class stands among that. Kind of like what would your reputation be, right? So if I was to think about it just very briefly to put a little bit of a, kind of like an observance, if you will, or an opinion on the class, I don't find any Necromancer to be completely embraced at all, if not executed on sight. Literally in Darnassus, I would assume my guy right here would literally get shot because he's a Necromancer right off the bat, let alone any other Alliance capital per se. Now, the Horde side, I would assume there's even less tolerance. Knowing a little bit of World of Warcraft lore, I don't know all the parts of World of Warcraft lore, but being a WoW player for 20 plus years, I like to say I know a little bit of something. Necromancers, I don't find them to be an invited class at all among the ranks of the Alliance. My best suggestion would probably be that this would be a situation where you have limited options and you're dealing with a Necromancer and they're able to provide some level of aid. There might be a group of Necromancers that want to tailor their abilities for the better good in Azeroth. I think it could lead to a lot of good storytelling, whatever you guys are into as far as like RP or whatever, but it could definitely tell a different story, which I believe would be pretty interesting. And again, this is only 1 out of 21 classes, guys, so the interactions among the classes, the interactions among the factions, I find it to be a very interesting thing. So I'm just wondering what's about to happen next. I don't know. I would hope that the Ascension team puts some things together that would kind of add in to the Necromancer and kind of give some level of story elements and stuff every so often, just to give you a little bit of nudge that, hey, look, this is who you are, hey, look, this is the powers that you wield, or this is what your character identifies as, right? So Necromancer, guys, this is it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So other things that I'll be covering, guys, coming up next is basically all the general abilities every Necromancer is going to know. So that's that's your personal buff, that's your CC abilities, that's going to be some utility spells that you may have, or something that requires a regent or whatever. So these abilities are pretty interesting. Necromancer is definitely a pretty unique class as far as what I've seen. And this is just the first class that we're covering here. I've seen many other classes, but as far as covering it, I'm seeing it from different angles, looking at the talents, their gameplay, leveling 3, Necromancer's up to level 60. Not exactly a small gig, but leveling is not exactly a problem here as it stands right now. So it was pretty interesting just accomplishing this. I feel like the project is pretty good. We're going to go over a lot of the other Necromancer specializations coming up after this. So we got Rhyme, we got Animation coming up, and also Death specialization for Necromancer. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Thank you guys for sticking around. Best wishes as always. God bless. And we'll roll over to the next clip.